The NightForce ATACR 4-20 by 50 F1 Riflescope is new for 2021. NightForce says it's their premier mid-range rifle scope for professional shooters. Take a look at what they say this scope is and the specs. If we select the ATACR line, there's our 4-20 by 50 F1 scope, and there's a picture of it right there mounted. Kind of gives you an idea of the size. So this scope is new for 2021. It says it fills an important magnification range between the 4-16 and the 7-35. It's a little shorter scope, and I think that's what makes it at home on the semi-auto rifle and the bolt action. The 4-20 by 50 F1 is our Apex mid-power scope. If we come down here to the specifications, 4-20 power, first focal plane scope, means you can use your reticle at all powers to range and for holdovers. 34 millimeter scope. Here's that overall length of 13.9 inches, and I think that's what makes it appropriate for a bolt gun and a gas gun. It's just a little smaller lengthwise. 5.9 inch mounting length. It's a mere 35.2 ounces. For anybody out there doing conversions, that's 2.2 pounds. So if you take into account 34 millimeters, 2.2 pounds, the robust dials and adjustments that are on the scope. This is still a large scope. That's something new to me. I'm getting used to it, but it does not look out of place on the rifle. Really, it doesn't feel too bad. So we got the MRAD version, which gives us 38 mils of total elevation and 29 mils of windage. Parallax adjustment down to 11 yards. I believe only the 735 is the only other scope in this lineup that goes down to 11 yards on parallax adjustment. 3.5 inches of eye relief. In our mounting video, we talked about mounting for optimal eye relief, or what I like to call worst scenario eye relief, which is in the prone position at max power. That's how we set up our scope. If you're careful when you mount your scope and do that, I haven't had any problems getting behind this scope at max power, so the eye relief is not bad at all. Field of view at 20 power is 6.1 foot. And this is the type of scope. It comes with a power throw lever. We'll talk about that here a little later. Another way to adjust it is just grab the whole eyepiece and turn. But sometimes your ocular cover can get in the way, but it ratchets out of the way pretty quick. But this is a scope when you're acquiring targets you may want to be at a lower magnification Once you find your target, you can grab that power throw lever or that ocular piece and just turn it to max power if that's what you're after. There's our exit pupil specs. That's going to relate to our light transmission. And then, of course, the Digillum Reticle, which is very nice. The ZeroStop, which is a great feature that I've enjoyed on it. And the power throw lever. Let's go over here to the reticles. So this has the MOAR reticle, which is the MOA version. It has the trimmer 3, which is your basic Christmas tree, the Mil XT, and the Mil C. We went with the Mil XT reticle on this one. It's supposed to be for a precision rifle competitor, which allows you to identify hold-offs and make those shots without having to make adjustments on the scope. This has been a good reticle for me so far. It's got a center dot aiming point, which allows me to be really precise at 20 power. I've done really more dialing than I have holding off. I know I've been in rifle shoots where I have used a reticle just to make the shots. It's not too noisy. It's not quite at the trimmer 3 level, so it's kind of a nice reduced clean Christmas tree. So far I've been pretty happy with it. So let's go back over here and talk about what comes in the box real quick. So it has the flip up covers installed. Again, they're a quality flip up cover. I haven't had any trouble with them. They feel a little heavier than the Butler Creeks, and that rear one on the ocular can ratchet in and out of position. That way when you change it, it's not in the way. It came with a cleaning cloth. The multi-tool is nice. It's easier to keep track of. It's a little handier than having the Allen wrenches that come in most things. The power throw lever was there. Hey, NightForce, I didn't have any stickers in my box, but it's supposed to come with your NightForce stickers so you can flex on everybody. Good owner's manual, kind of covers everything. So this scope has a capped windage, which is kind of a big deal for a lot of these PRS shooters. When they're on barricades, when they're moving around, there's been some incidences where people have moved their windage adjustment. And of course, you don't figure it out till you've already made your first shot. So a capped windage is pretty nice. I usually hold windage anyway. But if you want to run your windage uncapped, it has a beauty ring, which makes the scope look like it was built that way. And then it has a sunshade in the box also, which is a nice addition. I chose to run without the sunshade, and we'll see. I may change my mind at some point. So that's a quick rundown of the website. We'll show some pictures of the scope. We'll talk about that power throw lever and the zero adjustment a little bit, and we'll show you some footage when we were out at the range. Alright, let's take a look at our tall target that we shot with our NightForce ATACR. We start out over here on the left side with a zero check. That's 6 shots. Based on where that zero was, I want to try to bring it a little closer to center. So before we move down to the bottom, we went 0.1 mils to the right, and you can see that reflected down here on the bottom target. So our sequence of shots here is 1 on the bottom target, a mil up, a shot, back down to the bottom, mil up, back down, 3 mils up, back down, 4 mils up, back down, all the way to 7. So to look at the results here, we can obviously see that we did shift our point of impact to the right of the dot. It looks like right now with this ammo rifle combination, I'm just going to float around that center. But one of the important things to look at, which tells us if our scope and rifle is level, is did we track with that zero straight up the target, which we did. We're off to the right of our center line, but we stayed vertical with our group instead of tracking off to the side like that. The other thing to look at is, are the adjustments correct? So once again, we're at 105 yards, 1 mil equals 1.78 inches, and you'll see those tick marks all the way up the tall target. So 1 mil, 2, 3. You know, 4 is not the best group, but we're right in the middle of that. 5, 6, and 7 is essentially at the top of the paper, just a bit below it. So all those shots, 2 at each mil intersection, are within the rifle accuracy, and they're within the tracking accuracy of the scope. So based on this tall target, I have supreme confidence that this NightForce is tracking as it should. And to further verify that, we went ahead and took it out to the range and shot some targets at distance. All right, I thought we'd wrap things up here by taking a look at the scope on the rifle. We've used 34 millimeter NightForce rings. I think it's the standard size. I'll have to verify that. We've got a 20 MOA base. Here's the capped windage that we talked about, and there is a beauty ring available if you want to run that windage out in the open. We talked about the power throw lever, which allows you to change power on the scope. You can also grab the ocular itself with the same effect. We talked about the ocular cover, and as you can see, it ratchets several different locations. So as you change things, you're good to go. Something that was on my rifle, take a look at the gap between that power throw lever and the bolt when it's in the upward position. I'm going to be honest with you, that boogered my hand a couple times when I was trying to run it. So that may be a product of my mounting height, my scope base, where my scope's mounted forward to back. But pretty much I'm going to run without the power throw lever. And we've got a filler screw that we can put in there for that. Moving up here to the elevation adjustment. It's got positive clicks. We can run that several revolutions. We've got 12 mils per revolution on this scope. And then we've got a solid ZeroStop. So as you can see, I've taken my ZeroStop about a click below 0, so I'm not pounding on that 0 every time. I just come back up a click and I'm right where I need to be. There's 2 screws on this cover. We remove them. You've got 4 screws. Basically on a clutch system, you loosen those 4 screws, do not remove them. And you can rotate that clutch down until you come to a mechanical stop. And both the pieces meet, and that's your hard mechanical stop. So if you leave a little space in there, you can set it below 0. That's just something I do. It's not absolutely necessary, but I kind of like the idea of it. So for our tall target test, this is the ammunition we shot. I tried 3 varieties of factory ammunition, nozzler, and then actually one of them was a surplus ammunition. And this ammunition here gave me the best results. I think we'll have a video on that coming out. My overall thoughts on the scope, I'm going to tell you I love it. I've never had a scope this high magnification. There's some features I've never had, you know, the ZeroStop, that many mils per revolution. With this caliber, it's doubtful I'll get out of the first turn, which is kind of nice. But if something happens and I do, I've got that ZeroStop to bring me right back. This is a great scope. You know, the only rub here is you got to come to terms with the cost of it. One way to think about it is I can tell you all the scopes and rifles that have been through my hands over the years. I could probably have a couple of these by now, and there would be no regrets. So going forward, for me, it's going to be hard to justify something different, but we'll just have to see what the situation is at the time. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Big Wyoming and going through this scope review with us. I hope I helped some people out there. I'm looking forward to the comments below. I need you to like. I need you to subscribe. We got a Patreon page now. There'll be a link down there. And then Big Wyoming merch is available. Go out there and help us. We're going to see some more with this rifle. As you can see, I'm at the reloading bench. We're going to be doing some reloading pretty soon. And we're going to see if we can shrink the groups down on this rifle. And then this year, we're going to go see if we can get a deer with it. Again, thanks for your support. And I'll see you on the backside.